They will.
What's your itinerary?
They'll be served.
Any point us to do that?
Unfortunately, I continue to work till probably 16. I just
Jeff, I said, I just yeah.
Like decked out. I wonder where I had though, but Maddie.
I know, I don't know what that's about. It's a little far.
Feel free to go and get some food.
We did a dance at the Elks Club and we raised $4,000 for the local events that they sponsored. And Heather just went out, hey, can I join
it meant a lot to me, and I meant to tell you, but I never found the time. Take your mask off.
Oh, hold on. Hello.
Where are you?
So Emily's somewhere. Yeah. I don't know where she went to. She's somewhere. It's the Booster Club. I like yours.
It's fascinating.
She loved the movie. And there are little men who got bit by a shark. I'll eat this one.
Don't. Want a tail? You don't walk in that. Does that make sense? Right. But maybe I can be like.
Thank you so much for coming. And there's
We're gonna start start with a song and then have the speeches.
Oh, I got it.
All right, everyone, thank you so much. It's so nice to meet some of you for the first time. It's a pleasure to perform for you today.
always there to catch me when I
one I know. So I'll hold you as close as I can, longing for the day when I see your face again. Until then, God must need another angel around the throne tonight. Your love lives on inside of me, and I will hold on tight. It's not my place to question, only God knows why. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight, singing hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. I'm just jealous of the angels who laugh with you tonight. We're just gonna do a little transition here. Hang tight, folks. Thank you. Yes, sir,
Are you gonna wear it for yours? There you go, nice and snug. I have a big head. Here, I think about my head.
Hello. Okay. So, I suppose before I try to do an introductory remark and a eulogy of sorts, maybe I should explain that this is not a conventional group, conventional occasion. Most people don't wear funny hats and do the things that we're doing, but Terry loved them, and we thought it would be appropriate. She was very, very clear about if she went first, how she wanted things to go, and she did not want anybody to be sad. She didn't want anybody to mourn, and she wanted to go out with a bang. She came in with a bang. She was a bang every moment we were with her, and she wanted it to be a bang when she went out. COVID made it difficult for us to be able to bring everyone together, because at that exact time the whole country shut down and you couldn't get many people together. So we delayed it until now, and God, I'm grateful to every single person who made it here and is here. Just so I make a couple more things clear, on each of your tables there is a Terry quiz, and throughout the remarks that we will be making and the tables and the exhibits, there are clues. Many of you will just look at it and say, well, yeah, I know what she liked, I know what she did, I know what the answer to this is, but you may not know the answers to all of them. So we did it, every single table had one, and when we get to that point, you're all allowed to throw in anything that you know. You can fight it out, and eventually we're just going to say, the answer to number one is this, the answer to number two is this, and you'll know. After all these years, I'm still not as good a speaker, public speaker, as Terry was. She was masterful. And so you have to put up with me, but then you'll get to hear each other, and that'll make it all worthwhile. If you find that you don't like to do public speaking, but you do want to say something, around the corner, or wherever my daughter is pointing, because she is the boss, as Terry was, there will be a place for you to be able to say, well, I just wanted to say this about her. I don't necessarily want to stand up and, do what Jeff did. Oh my God, no, don't do what Jeff did. Terry would tell you, whatever you do, don't do what Jeff did. But there will be a time and a place for that. We're going to try to get photographs of all of you. There's a photographer here, and we're going to try to, try to catch you before you leave. But first you have to go through my remarks, and there's no getting out of that, and here we go. There's a proverb that tells us that everyone is wise until they speak. So these opening remarks should dispel any remaining illusions that I was the wiser of the two of us. For those of you who have not had to go through the agony of knowing me, or those of whom I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, I'm Jeff. I was and am Terry's husband, straight man, kept man, accomplice, fellow adventurer, and the unwitting and hapless subject of many of Terry's funniest stories and anecdotes. I have had the experience of going to the ETS campus, which is, in my opinion, fairly massive, and to whatever building Terry was working in. And for the most part, those buildings were pretty damn big by my standards. And I knew if I was in the right building because I could hear Terry's laughter, and I could hear other strange people laughing away at a huge distance. And I said, okay, I'm in the right building, and I would go. And if Terry was done telling whatever the story was, and I was going upstairs and trying to, follow the murmurs, okay, complete strangers would walk up to me. If I took an elevator, people who I'd never seen before, they would look at me and then they'd kind of sidle over and they'd say, pardon me, but you aren't by any chance Mr. Terry, are you? It was like the M&M's commercial where Santa Claus faints because he finds out that the M&M's are real. And I would say, yes, guilty as charged. And they would just break up. And they would just laugh and laugh and laugh. And then they would say, if you only knew the stories your wife tells about you. And then they go running off to tell people that I was real. And I would see them, running down, and they would go, he's real, Mr. Terry is here. So I learned, and in my defense, usually as they were running away, I'd say, well, when I tell the story, Terry's the one who sounds crazy, and I'm the one who sounds good. I've done that at my school. In any case, it's comforting to know that a person who was and is so special to me was and is special to others as well. Thank you each, thank you all of you for being here. It means so very much to us. I worried about what I was going to say, and several of you said to me, what are you worried about? It's for Terry. It's only going to be a room full of people who liked her. They already know she was great. And I would say, yeah, okay, so we'll try that. All of you brought joy to my Terry's life. Anyone who ever dealt with her came away feeling special because she treated everyone special. You were special. You are special to her. We were driving in a car one time with one of my daughters, who commented on the fact that the other daughter wasn't there, and said, gee, it's a shame that she couldn't be with us. It's a shame that she's high maintenance, was the expression that was used. And that fast, Terry turned around and said, honey, in this family, we're all high maintenance. And and the daughter who said it said, oh, well, not Dad. I mean, not Dad. And she gave her a look that I thought was going to drive her head off and said, honey, in this family, we are all high maintenance. And that is the way she treated us. And that's the way she treated everybody else. I never was able to be that good. Tried, but she was just too good for that. No matter what we did, Terry loved us. No matter what life threw at us, she was constant. She was the reassuring voice, email, text that would comfort and love you through anything. Unconditionally. It sounds easy. It is not. Most of us, on occasion, love with judgment or with conditions. She never did. Thank you for joining us this afternoon to honor a life well lived and to pay tribute to our Terry, to share tales of love and laughter that she gave so freely and so well to so many of us. Terry was many things to each of us. She was a wonderful and devoted wife, mother, grandmother. She was a loving daughter, sister, sister-in-law, aunt, and cousin. To the youngest amongst us, she was Nana Nini. To others, she was Tree, or she was TEA, or she was T. To me, she was Nini. And she had many other nicknames, some of which are not appropriate for mixed company. For thousands of people across this country, in Canada, and around the world, she was a cherished teacher, she was a valued colleague, she was a generous mentor, and she was a trusted problem solver. I used to think that I knew what problems were. And in our house, we ate supper together, and everybody would ask each other, how was your day? And what's new? And how did things go? And one time, I made the mistake of saying, oh my God, it was just such a horrible day. The police came, and Terry would gently say to me, the police came to our school, and Terry would gently say to me, Jeff, isn't that what you said yesterday? And isn't that what you said the day before? And don't you say that a lot? And I would say, well, they didn't just come once. They came several times today. And Terry would watch our girls, who would squirm and be a little uncomfortable with it. And then afterwards, she would say something like, can you help me cut this? And I would go to help her cut whatever it was while everybody was at the table. And she said, when you asked me, I could have said that I spent the day on the phone trying to help people who were being shot at by snipers. I could have said that, today was the day I tried to deal with the fact that there was no city where we were working with people because there had been a tidal wave and it wiped everything out, and people wanted to know how they could do this. So my advice is, unless the roof blows off the school and the hallways run red with blood, your answer when the kids are here is, it was great. I had a super day. And I'm just so happy to be home with everyone, and I'm not going to be a downer. And she was completely serious about having been through all of those things. She said, we don't share those with everyone, especially the little ones who now are no longer little, and now that Terry is not bossing me, they are, and doing a wonderful job of it, I might add. She was fiercely loyal to family, friends, colleagues, co-workers, the Educational Testing Services Organization, and to the international education community. When she died, I never knew, I suspected, but I never knew how many friends she had and how many people she had touched. And it just kept coming on and on and on. She was kind. She was wise beyond measure. Her smile was contagious. It lit up the room. Her laughter was irresistible. Every day we shared with her was a treasure. She had the rare gift of being able to find positivity everywhere. It didn't matter how tough or bad, she would always find the silver lining. Sometimes it was a bit aggravating that she always found the silver lining and wasn't willing to share in the misery, but that was her way. She was radiant. At times, she seemed incandescent, and as one of our cousins wrote on Facebook, she was literally light. Living with her was like watching the colors of leaves in the fall, something that Terry loved and taught all of us to love. She was ever-changing and more stunningly beautiful with every passing day. She was my everything, soulmate, spouse, lover, inspiration, amazing dance partner, and most of all, she was my best and dearest friend. Despite all of her many attributes, Terry was and always remained genuinely modest and unassuming. She seldom, if ever, blew her own horn. Although she had a shorter than average lifespan, she led a larger than average life. In the June that I met her, Teresa Elaine Seiler, so that I did remember for family to use the name before she made the mistake of marrying me. She graduated #1 in her class from high school at Red Bank Regional High School. And as such, she was the class valedictorian. And that was difficult because back then, she was a little shy, and every time I tell people that, they ask me what I've been smoking or drinking or whatever. And she was not yet the skilled public speaker that she would later become. She hadn't found her voice. I met Terry at Muhlenberg College, August 1970, first day of her freshman orientation. When we met, I did not believe her. I thought she was too sweet and too innocent and too utterly good to be true. I was wrong, and she was all of those things. When we began dating, I thought that she was too sheltered, too naive, and too unworldly. And I was right about that for a very short time. This is kind of like the story that Mark Twain tells, and many of you have heard, that when he ran away from home and he got on the riverboat and went down the Mississippi, He did so because he was convinced that his father was a complete jackass and that he would never, amount to anything, and there was nothing to learn from him, so he plied his trade. And then when the ship came back, he got off, saw his father, and he said, "I was amazed to see how much the man had learned in that short a period of time." Well, that was it with me and Terry. It turns out that there was so much depth there that I had to grow into it. During my undergraduate years and her undergraduate years, well, actually, she was in for longer than me because I met her and I was an upperclassman. My parents met Terry. They fell in love with her, and they all but adopted her. She had self-discipline. She had common sense. She was organized. She was responsible. She was compassionate. She was charming. She was sweet. She was an active learner. She was all the good things that I never was. And my parents told me that. And then they had a talk with me and said, "We love her. I think, and I'm paraphrasing my father said, I just want to give you a fair chance on this. If you're ever foolish enough or reckless enough to botch this up, we're going with her and you're out in the cold." I mean, she is something. During her senior year at Muhlenberg, Terry did the unthinkable. She accepted my proposal. I was limping from having lost in a basketball game played in the prison that I was teaching in at that time, and I insisted on our walking 5 or 6 blocks to the Rose Garden, which was famous then in Allentown, so I could get down on my knee. And as important of things to come, she had to actually help lift me after I got down, and she said yes. True story, and it certainly established where we were going from there. We married 2 months after she graduated. Later, Terry used to like to say to anyone who would listen, "Jeff chased me through my 4 years at Muhlenberg until I caught him." And truer words were never spoken. Terry graduated number 2 in her class at Muhlenberg. She had a double major, and her father told me she would have graduated number 1 again if you hadn't been such a persistent distraction. And he was probably right. During our earliest years of marriage, Terry worked for the Treasury Department. She was a bank examiner. Most of you probably don't know that. Initially, she was the only female on the team that she was assigned to. She distinguished herself so well that she received a promotion, and in doing so, she broke a glass ceiling by becoming one of the first women to be appointed to the previously all-male ranks of the Treasury Department's elite team of international bank examiners. The good news was that her superior work ethic and competency were finally being recognized. The bad news was that she was on the road for 80% of the work year, and owing to the sensitive nature of her assignments, she couldn't tell me where she was going or when she was leaving on assignment until 24 hours before each work assignment. That led to us going to the Canadian Maritimes. We went thinking we would be there for 3 years at the most. We were there for just short of 10 years. One of the things that Terry did that she never spoke of, and that I wanted to say, was she was willing, in order to advance our marriage and my career, Terry selflessly put her own career on hold. She wasn't so happy with the traveling, and we'll get to traveling later because then she was traveling again. But for those years we were together. We lived in the village of Chester in the province of Nova Scotia, where Terry adjusted to village life immediately and joyously. I would come racing home and say, from work, always late, and say, put on something, we'll go out, let's go dancing, we'll do this, we'll do that. And she would say, well, first, I made some tea, sit down at the table and we'll have some. And then I would sit down and she would say, so do you think that there's more red in the sky, in the sunset today than there was yesterday? And I would be flummoxed and I would say, what are you, and she would say, the nearest movie theater is an hour away, Jeff. The nearest place that they're actually doing the kind of dancing that you're thinking about is, maybe an hour beyond that. And we live in a town where there's an intersection, and if you sneeze, you miss the town. I'm used to this. I grew up in a small town. I like small. Get used to it. The greatest thing that happened in both of our lives happened while we were in Chester. Terry produced the two accomplishments that she was most proud of for the remainder of her life. Our beautiful and loving daughters, Jennifer and Rebecca. All of the best of Terry continues to shine in them. They are wildly industrious. They are very funny. We used to call them the Bicker sisters when they rode in the back seat of the car. You're using my air. You're looking at me. This was, they became the best of friends, and there you go. Any and all suspected imperfections in them stem from their incorrigible and well-meaning but absent-minded father. They got nothing but the best of advice from Terry, who would drop everything to just speak with them. With them, she developed one of her famous sayings, that sucks. That really sucks. And what would happen is one or the other of them would call, and I would answer the phone, and they would tell me something sad or bad or whatever. And I would say, oh, that's terrible. This is what you ought to do about that, and this is what we'll do, and we need to do this, and we need to do that. And there would be a pause, and they would say, this will go a lot better if you would just put Mom on the phone. And I would put Terry on the phone, and she would take the phone. I've told them this, they don't believe it, but she would take the phone, and she would listen. She would listen intently. She would say, oh my dear, that sucks. That really sucks. And then she would put the phone down and go and do other things. And the phone would just go, beep, 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 beep. I could hear it, they would be going on. And then she would come back periodically and pick it up and say, oh my God, no. And then she'd put it down again, do something else, and then she'd come back on. And eventually they'd say, my God, Mom, I knew that you would understand. And then, and then they would get off the phone, and I would look at her and I would say, what did I do wrong? And she would say, oh, they already knew. They already knew what you're going to tell them. They already knew what to do. They weren't calling you to ask you what to do. And they really don't want me to tell them what to do. They just want someone to tell them that it sucks. So one of the, similar to, that's a damn shame. These things just come out. And then they have a life of their own. Anyway. If not for my daughters, I do not know what I would do. We raised them with two very simple rules. Rule number one, Mom, and that is Terry, is always right. Rule number 2, in the event that Dad or anyone else claims to be more right, refer to rule number 1. During our years in Canada, Terry began to find her voice. And she began to demonstrate to more and more people just how good she was at anything that you asked of her. She distinguished herself in a variety of demanding roles. She was an amazing live-in house parent with a foster family of young adults who had severe disabilities and special needs. And no, I am not referring to Jen and Beck at this time, although they were babies living with her and me, acting as house parents, live-in house parents for those people, those children and young adults. She was a skilled teacher. She worked wonders in a behavior shaping unit with some of the most challenging children in Eastern Canada, children who were referred from 5 provinces at that time. When they ran out of options in the place that they were from, they were referred to the facilities that I was working at, and Terry was working with the toughest of those kids. When we moved back in '85, she taught for a while, but it just wasn't the same. And we realized that she was ready for greater challenges. She sought not merely a new career, but a new mission as well. And in 1989, she began working for Educational Testing Services, or ETS, if anybody saw her wearing the hats, the shirts, you name it, and it had an ETS on it. That was a wonderful win-win. It just had a life of its own. So in addition to being that wonderful parent and spouse and everything else, she became a savvy corporate citizen. She traveled extensively. Fortunately, she could tell me when she was going and where she was going. It made a huge difference. She had Alaska, Kentucky, Massachusetts, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Washington State, West Virginia, Wisconsin, and the western provinces of Alberta and British Columbia as her North American territories. She attended conferences all over the world and spoke as a representative of ETS and on behalf of them as their client relations group. Before there ever was a client relations group, the original people were Eileen Tyson, who is here tonight and was Terry's closest friend through thick and thin at ETS, and Terry. And basically, it was, there's someone on the phone from somewhere, oh, give it to them, they'll handle it. They'll make them happy, they'll work it out, they know those things. How does it work? I don't know. Ask Eileen, ask Terry, they're the ones who are supposed to know these things. It grew into a wonderful group, and Terry loved it, and loved every one of them, and could match me story for story. I would say, and this happened at my place, and she'd say, take a back seat, let me tell you about my day, with them, and then this happened. And I would just sit back in awe and say, what could you say? She learned constantly. She remembered, processed, and remembered everything. She was the opposite of absent-minded. I had that distinction. She became a skilled public speaker. She became a great presenter. She presented to audiences in North America, in Canada, in Europe, in the Middle East, and in Asia. She took courses and earned an MBA. Suddenly, I became the less experienced, naive, unworldly half of the two of us. And she became the openly acknowledged mentor and would say, no, Jeff, you don't pack a suitcase like this, you pack it like this. Oh my God, you're never gonna make it through the security lines, we have to do this. You know, basically I would sit down and say, what am I wearing today? What will I be wearing when I get there, Terry? And she would say, I think that, you know, this will be appropriate. We each retired in the summer of 2018 in order to spend more time together. At Terry's retirement, at my retirement party, people did many wonderful things. At Terry's retirement party, the theme was ease on down the road. Everybody wore buttons that said, Terry's retiring, that's a damn shame. It was, you know, it was just a love fest, absolutely. Terry entered eternal life on January 21st, 2021. Posthumously, and most recently, she received a prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award from one of the groups that she championed and took to her heart with the international education community. I can remember before 2000, Eileen would give me the exact date, 1998 probably, when ETS changed the way that they did testing. And I went with her and watched her under fire. I saw her presenting to that group, and people would stand, shout at her, call her names, call ETS names, and I saw her completely calm, and I saw her treat every single person with respect and say how important it was for her to know this, and that she would make sure that their concerns were taken seriously. I can remember her doing exactly that when she got back, and I can remember them loving her as it went on in the years, because she kept her word, and as with all of you, she felt they were special, and she treated them special, and they knew it, and it changed the entire relationship. She forged a trail of laughter and generosity, compassion and wisdom. She took delight in spoiling her husband. I took delight in trying to spoil Terry, but she was better than me at everything, including the spoiling part. She spoiled her daughters. She spoiled her granddaughter as long as anyone would let her. But unfortunately, they grow up, and then it's a different world, and they're suddenly adults or young adults as well, and we treat them differently. Terry was sweet with a side of zest. She loved life with more gusto than anyone I've ever known, and she will be incredibly missed by all who knew her. I found that in marrying Terry, I did not marry one person. I married three. I married the person that I thought she was, I married the person that she was, and I married the person that she became as a result of our marriage and being together for 48 years. I chased her for 4 years before she lost her senses and said yes, and I speak to her every night when I say my prayers. Any one of the people that she was would have been more than I deserved. But the combination of the three kept me madly in love with her and left me no choice but to fall in love with her again and again and again and again. In a long marriage, at least as I see them, each person secretly thinks that they got the better deal. You know, that you know, yeah, I'm okay, but the other person's wonderful. And in my case, I know that was the case. So I thank you for listening to my introductory remarks. And my daughter tells me that someone is going to sing again?
That's correct.
Okay. I thank you. And one thing before they do, just so that you have some idea of how this thing is all organized. There are people who are videotaping, if anybody wants to say anything, so we have a record of that. If you don't like public speaking, but you want to say something about her, or your memories of her, or how friggin' funny she was, because God knows she was, they're also going to set up in that room over there, and then you're not speaking in front of people. You get to say something, and it's private, and we still get a record of it. There's a photographer here, and we hope to get pictures of everybody who was here and the groups that made it. And if I didn't explain that, I will tell you, as I told some people, on every one of your tables there is a Turing quiz. That will come up later on. If you listened to me, and I feel sorry if you did, but there it is. If you listened to me, you will find that on the quiz, most of the questions were answered in what you just heard. You'll also hear that those I missed get taken by somebody else. And if you have walked about, you will find clues everywhere. You'll see the question and you'll say, wait a minute, I just saw that. It was sitting over there on that table. The answer is this. We just did it where we figured that all of you know pieces of her, and if you put them together, you've got the answers, and then we'll give the answers. But that way, I'm done. Perfect.
Love you.
Love you too. Okay. Song? Okay. Do you need the mic again?
I do. Come this way.
All right.
Thank you. My piano's not on. That would be necessary.
When I think of my mother, no one compares to her. A love like no other, she puts everyone else first. And when I was younger, I treated her the worst. And I know she was stronger, 'cause damn, it must have hurt. I don't see you as much as I used to, but if I did, I know what I would do. I'd tell you I love you 1,000,000 times, say that I'm sorry if I made you cry. Could never be half the woman even if I tried, but I'll try, I swear I'll try. If someone puts me down, yeah, I know my worth. All thanks to you, the lessons that I've learned. If I had to put it into words, think of an angel and all that see is her. Ooh, all that see is her. Ooh, your voice in my head, it tells me I'm beautiful. And when I have children, I'll pass on the things I was told. I don't see you as much as I used to, but if I did, I know what I would do. I tell you I love you a million times. Say that I'm sorry if I made you cry. Could never be half the woman even if I tried. But I'll try, I swear I'll try. Someone puts me down, yeah, I know my worth. All thanks to you, the lessons that I've learned. If I had to put it into words, think of an angel and all I'd see is her. Ooh, all I'd see is her. Ooh, all I'd see is her.
Yes. Thank you. Little transition.
Thank
music.
you, guys.
Yeah, I think she's gonna
Thank you, Jordan. Music entrance, first time. Okay. Some of this may be a little bit of repeat from my dad, but I think we can all agree that my mother was remarkable. That word is from my Aunt Annie. She had a zest for life, an explosive personality. Oh. A blend of smart, fun, and wit that allowed her to light up a room. And given her travels for work, she was internationally beloved. I consider myself truly blessed in my life that she was my mother. Not only was she a mother, but she was a best friend, a confidant, and a gifted advisor. Just one example, because of course there are millions. When I decided which specialty in medicine, when I was figuring it out, she reflected back what I was trying to communicate to her, and she said, "So you want a little peril, like Monty Python?" And she had that gift that she was just so quick, and she was able to spit it back out to me, so I understood it. And I thank God that I told her she was my best friend, that she knew it. That's just another blessing. When I think about it, there are many similarities that I share with my mother that I can celebrate. I've got her looks, and many of you commented, right? I am her clone, it's crazy. It is insane, down to the green eyes. And to the point where my grandparents used to confuse pictures of me, like there was a picture of me from prom. When did you take this? And right, like it would have been risque for the dress I was wearing for my mom back in the day, and she was like, "No, that's Jen, it's okay now." They talk about how women often find flaws in the way they look, but I look like a clone of my mom, so I've never had that problem, which is another blessing. It is impossible to think of my mother without thinking of her smile. And she perfected the open mouth smile. And in our family, it is contagious. I'm working on it, but my sister and my niece Emily have it down. Though I don't quite match her twinkle, she gave me a beautiful smile, and now when I look at photos of myself, I can think about that. It's impossible to think of my mother without thinking of her humor, wit, and whimsy. On this, I'm sure we each have a story, and I really hope to hear all of yours with the videographer or writing it down, because I so enjoy hearing other people's experience with my mother now. She was a master of fun photos. There's one, there's the next, and photo bombs. Woo! It's like one of my favorite photos ever. And that has trickled down through our family, as you can probably see from our Facebook posts and our Christmas photos and Easter photos. There's an example. She enjoyed funny hats, as a tribute. We did that today. And funny socks. So, of course, we both had an entire drawer full, like a drawer designated to funny socks. We shared a love of poop jokes. That's the whole thing we talk about in my family. She called me one day and she said, "Talk about a foot long." Yeah, no, seriously, that happened. That's real. And then there's a favorite story in our family. So we're in a public restroom and somebody was having very loud problems. And, because I'm very blunt and I don't always censor as well as I should, and I was like, "Mom, was that you?" And she goes, "No." And this other woman in the bathroom stall started laughing and laughing. It was her mom who was having the problem. So that's one of our favorite family jokes, stories. On Facebook, there was a picture with me and Becky in the 90s, with the bold colors, and we were wearing hats. And somebody was like, "Wow, glad we moved on from that fashion." I wrote on Facebook, "What are you talking about? I look fabulous. In fact, perhaps I should go back to the crimped hair look. Thoughts?" And my mom wrote, "If you go back to a perm, I will too. Think about it." And there's so many other examples. That's one of my favorites. We all know my mother loved to dance. They say dance like no one is watching, but my mom danced like everyone was watching. In the family, she is known for YMCA to the jukebox at restaurants at the shore. We'll dance to it later, don't worry. And perhaps you have seen the video of her boogieing solo in the street at the festival. That. Will it play? No. Okay, well, don't worry, because hold on. I got it. Oh. We're going to dance to it later. Yeah, she's the only one out there. That's just her. Shake it, Mom. Yeah. They went to join her, like the mascot. I want to dance with this lady. Yeah, that's right. All right, I'll keep going. At family gatherings, she would hit the dance floor with my father, and she would jump up and down with me, which I'm sure you guys remember. These are just some more photos of her dancing. That's her with my dad. Oh, they're so great. That's her at Becky's wedding with her friends, and her with Emily. And just weeks before she passed away, actually, I put on some music in my living room. It was with Spotify, and we just danced around in my living room. And we were just jumping and jumping until we were too tired to keep going. And this is another moment that I feel just so very thankful for. She taught me to celebrate life with your hands up in the air. Woo, right? All the time. My mom is the master of this. I'm learning at it. Here's another one. That's her arriving in Australia, right? Like after this huge long trip. She was like, "We made it! Woo!" Right? That's just her. And so many other pictures. I think there's another one. Yep, there's another one. So my sister and I inherited her smarts and being a hard worker, if I do say so myself. And she actually, when she was younger, she told me that she got the dictionary, and when she would read, if she didn't know a word, she would look it up in the dictionary, and then she got to a point where she just, all the words were done, which was amazing to me. And as my father mentioned, she got this prestigious award for work. And this may shock you, but as a child, I didn't appreciate my mom's advice or smarts. And when I figured that out, my father has mentioned this, a family phrase was born: "Mom was right." And it actually annoyed me how often it was true. Be like, oh, mom was right. But then sometimes I was like, oh, mom was right. It turns out she really knew about warm wear. So she knew that hats kept your head warm. I rejected that advice, and then I moved to Boston and was like, oh my God, hats do keep your head warm. Mom was right. She got me snow pants. I was like, when am I gonna wear snow pants? But this is when I wore them. When I walked to med school in Boston, it was freezing, and I wore my snow pants, and it was incredible. She bought me this strapless blue shirt one time, and I was like, I'm never gonna wear this. And then I put it on, and I looked incredible. There's a picture, we all went out together. No, not yet, not in there. But anyway, and I was like, oh my God, mom was right, you know. So we shared a love for musicals, and it's no wonder that my sister and I were in school choir and summer theater every year. And Becky and my mom got to do theater together. You can see some pictures up there while I was away in Boston. I'm very jealous. And she would sing songs that were made up, which is something that my sister and I do too, so I consider myself very lucky. And there's one story where she was singing to my niece. It was bedtime, and Emily said, "Stop singing, Nana Nini." It was another funny family story. And my mom told me, she came home, that's what she said to me. We shared a love of nature. Every fall, you probably know this, every fall my mom, my dad, and I would go on a hunt for the famous fire red tree. We loved the beach together, the flower trees in the spring. There's that weeping cherry in the front yard. She loved gardens, so when she went to Bouchard Gardens in Victoria, she came back to me and said, oh my God, you have to go. So I did, because mom is always right, and she was right. It's incredible. And then we went back together. And that's what actually this is for. It's the hanging baskets that mimic the hanging baskets she loved in Victoria. Many years ago in North Carolina, she's the one who sat outside with me, and we watched a meteor shower together to see the shooting stars. And that is another moment that I'm just so grateful for. She was also my walking buddy, and was the walking buddy of many, I am told. My uncle told me this time at the shore it's not the same, but I'm trying. She and I loved to travel. She gave me the travel bug. I can't even list how many places she went over the world for her job. Very jealous. But I often got to go with her. So we went to Nice, France, Austin, Texas with my dad and my mom. I went to Barcelona, Sedona and the Grand Canyon, Vancouver and Victoria Island, Windward Cottage in the Endless Mountains, Australia and Orlando with the whole family. Oh yeah, my sister had said that though she didn't get to spend her years after retirement traveling as many get to, it made my sister happy that she got to do so much traveling during her life, and that is a blessing. My mom loved craft fairs. So it was a quick story. In Barcelona, I found this jewelry stand just like on the streets. And I liked this one piece, and I called my mom over to ask her opinion on it. It was this ring. And then she was like, but this also would look great on you, and this one too, and this one too. So I have this bracelet. I got several other pieces, but they're not all on me. And then bought some for her, and etc. By the time we were finished, this legit happened. The artisan and his wife threw their arms around each other in hugs. And hugged because we had bought so much. Oh my God, we can eat tonight. It was amazing. Yeah, seriously, it was. And we shared a love of cats. Yeah, there you go. And she was gifted at naming cats. So we had a cat, Zoot. It means damn it in French. Bella and Noche are their current black cats. We went to pick up my cats at the shelter, and she looked at this other cat in the cage, and she was like, this cat is a fluffernutter. And the woman who was gonna adopt the cat was there, and she was like, that's his name, you're right. And so she's naming random people's cats. She named the neighbor's cat Whitey. That was not its name. It's named Snowball. The wife got really mad that the husband started calling the cat Whitey, because that's what he responded to, the name that my mom called him. We had similar taste in many things, so we kind of developed a one for me, one to you approach in our shopping. So like I would buy a tree necklace for me, and I would buy one for her. And I was going through her stuff, and I found that she had the same Victoria purple fleece. We had bought it together, and I'd forgotten. I found a picture with this Northwestern print sweater that I have, and I recognized it because she got it for me. So it turns out that she was wearing it years and years before she gave it to me. I must have said I liked it, and then she went, found it, and bought it for me. And similarly, one Christmas, I had this snowman globe, like this light-up snowman with glitter that would go around, and she was like, oh my God, I love it, this is so great. I said, oh, I'll get you one. I went back to the store, they didn't have it, and so I spent like a week calling every Walgreens in the area, and I went and got it for her, and I gave it to her the next Christmas. She was like, oh my God, you found it! So, you know, we had that kind of gift-giving arrangement. She was a shopper and good at fashion. This is a similarity, but she certainly outdid me. It is serendipity that my mother, who I think we can all agree loved clothes, met the son of Nanny, who I think we all agree knew fashion. Nanny is my dad's mom. And Pop Pop, who is my dad's father, the owner of a clothing store. It was meant to be. Talbot's was like her Cheers, where everybody knows your name. This was a family story. She would literally go into Talbot's, oh, Mrs. X, right? Like, oh, commission, yay. This is another great story. So we're at the Philly Folk Festival. This is me, my mom, and my dad. And a band is playing, the music is cut, and this guy comes out and says, the National Weather Service has just advised us that everyone, quote, must seek shelter immediately, because we're all outside. And so everybody goes running for the tents, and people are like booking it for the beer tent, because it can only hold so many people. We beelined it for the souvenir shop and went shopping. That's no lie, that is what happened. It's like all three of us, we didn't have to look at each other or communicate, we just like knew. Perhaps most importantly, we share a love of family. So she always talked about how lucky she was to join the Axe family and that she truly felt like an Axe. I thank God that my pop-pop and my grandfather and my nanny, my grandmother, they made her feel like she was their daughter. And my uncle said she was her sister. He commented on Facebook that she was a sister-in-law, but more like a sister. And I just am so grateful and so appreciate that they made her feel like family. And of course, she deserved it because she's so great. And of course, with a name whose acronym is T, Teresa Elaine Axe, it was destiny. As many of you know, my pop-pop was lovingly called the Tea Master. And now when I have a cup of tea, which is quite often, hashtag adulting is hard, I think of my pop-pop and my mom. There's more, that's her and her brother, and then that's another one, a family. Shocking as it may be, there are some differences between me and my mother. She was fearless. She went zip lining, parasailing with my uncle. I tried tandem skydiving, and I was like, oh no, this is not for me. I'm cool. I don't like it. We both like to laugh. We have a good sense of humor, but her laughter was unmatched. I mean, it was incredible, and like the knee slap and her whole body, it was incredible. She enjoyed dressing up and putting on a show. The family may remember that we as a family put on a show at the Kaplans, dancing to the music of I Do. She sang songs at Becky's wedding. She was often the entertainment for the family, you know, at Emily's birthday parties. Let's see who's in there. They did a show, I think it was in the last one, at the local Renaissance fair. Like they did an act, you know, they were dragons and medieval people. Like, who are we gonna get to act? Oh, I know, the Axes. That's crazy. When I think about it, it's no wonder that Becky went into children's entertainment, right? It makes a lot of sense. My mom was a nursery school teacher. She was really good with children. Becky's good with children, but she's also great at taking pictures like my mom, and likes to sing like my mom, and likes to entertain like my mom. So this video may not play. This is her and my dad at my sister's wedding.
When she said yes, he was filled with glee. Where will the wedding supper be? Oh, where will the wedding supper be? Oh, where will the wedding supper be? At Cameron with our friends and our family. First to arrive, Becky's
All right, it's going on. I'm gonna keep going. I envision her actually in heaven throwing her halo like a frisbee and making all of the other angels laugh, and I envision Nanny and Papa being there and laughing at her. She was a great storyteller and a master of catchphrases. My dad shared some of them. Again, you know, she had a way of taking it in and spitting it out very funny. She would paraphrase me and said, "I have an opinion and I'm not afraid to use it." That's me. Accurate. You heard in this family we are all high maintenance. I was shocked that she was referring to me. She said, "We need another house, this one is full." She told this story. My niece was listening to a storyteller and liked whatever prop the storyteller had up, and she runs up the stage. "I need it!" And so that's what we say now when we want something. I need it. She also, I like things warmer, and you know, as she got older, she wanted things colder, and so, you know, she had the AC blasting. I was freezing. She made up this phrase: "Family freezes in fire." And she coined the phrase "get the spray." Poop jokes. We love poop jokes. She was good at finances. Oh, it didn't make it in. That's okay. Good at finances, which I am not. And she had patience, tolerance, kindness, supportiveness, and sweetness, which I'm working on. I mean, I hope those things refer to me, but like, you know, this is a work in progress. She had them naturally. She told me, this was actually really sweet, she told me multiple times that every night before she went to bed, she would pray for those that she loved. So if I was saying, oh, like my friend Denise, blah, 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 or my friend this, or something happened to this person, she would say, oh, okay, I'm gonna add him to my prayers. It was like lovely. She made it clear that she wanted to be an organ donor, and so she was successful in donating organs. Her cornea were able to help 2 people see. I know, yeah, be an organ donor. And waiting on the details of the others, but I do know about the cornea. She was a giver. There are just too many examples, but here are a few. In Canada, this is a story she told me, I was too young to know. There was a fire, or like smoke and a fire, and she got the kids out, but then went back in for the family cat, Bum Bum. Oh yeah, that's another cat she named. Bum Bum. And he jumped from wherever he was and scratched her face all the way down with his butt. But she got him out, and she was like, oh, I would do it again, of course. Like, yeah, sweet. When my grandfather, my pop got the GI bug, she went over to take care of him, and then she got it, and then she gave it to my dad. She's a giver. When one of our cats got sick with kidney disease, she gave the cat peritoneal dialysis. She put like a needle in its back and gave it fluid every single day. And she kept it alive months longer than they thought that was possible. It was impressive. She helped me study for the OB-GYN boards. I was in my mid-30s and my mom was helping me study. And, you know, like if I needed something, she would get it. I would be going to Utah and be like, I need a sleeping bag, but I just don't have the time. She's like, I ordered it. Melissa's gonna pick it up and it'll be there waiting for you. She got me a tent when I needed to go camping in Australia. She and my dad. I mean, I love my dad too. She went to France and came back with like sexy lingerie. And I was like, what am I going to use this for? But Mom was right, Mom was right. So, Yes, that's right. Good job, Mom. She was resourceful, so she told me she made her own clothes as a teenager, and then when my sister and I were in plays, she would make our costumes for theater shows and for Halloween. There are some other stories about being resourceful. She used a suitcase as a crib for me because I was born premature and they hadn't gotten a crib yet. There are pictures, it happened. There's a story about how the headlights went out, so they used flashlights. Yeah, because I said, she was fearless. She got me a job at, she helped me get a job at ETS. I worked there in the summer. I missed my flight in Barcelona. I had like a total meltdown, and she was like, click, 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 I got you one with my miles. So she was just incredible. She was the glue of the family. She was the planner. That's what this slide is. No, back. Thanks. Road trips for college. I might not have gone to college if my mom hadn't researched colleges. I was not interested. I was studying. She was incredible. She would organize family beach trips each year. Some of Emily's birthday parties she helped. I was struggling in residency. She was like, let's go to Sedona and the Grand Canyon. When she heard I was jealous of Becky and Emily's trip to Disney, she planned a trip for the family. It's just incredible. Another difference, she had a fairy tale marriage to my dad, and had a work-life balance I hope to achieve. Here's a story about their love. There's so many, but here's one particular example. So my mom was in a car accident. She called my dad and he rushed out on the highway, but he was on the opposite side of the highway. And he ran across the highway to get to her and literally got hit by a car and kept going to get to her. Seriously. Yeah, he was all bruised. He was like, should I go to the doctor? I was like, yes, you should. You should do that. Another beautiful slide. Another difference is she had a snore, so this is a fun story. We used to travel together, so I go to Nice with her, Nice, France, and she's snoring so loud I can't take it, so I go to sleep in the bathtub. And, I'm a doctor, so I was like, oh my God, you need to get tested for sleep apnea. I'm actually really worried. And she did. She went and got tested, and she tells this story. The person administering the test was like, well, you don't have sleep apnea. But is your husband a hearing man? Yeah, because she was like the highest decibel in the loudness of her snore. Yeah. I'm lucky. I always felt loved and supported by my mom. So some people know this. She used to woo, 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 like Arsenio Hall at our school performances. My sister and I, when we were growing up, true story. Another story, we were all on a ferry from Vancouver to Victoria, and I was asleep. They called overhead for a doctor, and so I went, and my mom was like, oh, I want to come with you. The family was okay if she stuck around, and after she watched me treat this patient, she said, she was just like, I'm so proud of you, and there were tears in her eyes, and it was, at the time I was like, pshaw, it was nothing, but now it just, it means so much to me that she was so proud. Another story of love, so, I'm also a cat lover, and one of my favorite cats, Zoot, dies while I'm in med school, and I can't get back in time. And so I come home for spring break, and my mom's like, oh, I have something for you. And I figure it's clothes, because she loves clothes, but it was not. She comes out, it's Zoot. He was frozen in the freezer. I'm serious. She said, I saved him for you, so you could say goodbye. This really happened. Yeah, that's love. Yeah. That's love. Yeah. And then my dad was like, do you want a soda? And I was like, is it from the same fridge as the cat just came out of? And my mom was like, you're so high maintenance. I'm like, am I though? Am I? After she retired honored. I remember her saying, she said, wow, now I can come to Doylestown and have patio dinners with you whenever we want, you know. It was great. In the last few weeks of her life, I was questioning, am I going to be able to be a mom? Can I do it? And she said to me, oh, I always thought you could do it. And I'm actually having a necklace made with that phrase because she was just so supportive. She called me 2 days before she passed away, and her message was, hi, Jen, it's Mom. I'm just calling to say I love you. Sorry I missed you. And, for a while, I would actually cry all the time because I missed the call. But now I think reframing, I'm just so happy that I have that message to listen to. It's just so lucky. So she loved me, and I loved her. If I discovered something, I couldn't wait to tell my mom. So I find this new water ice place in Yardley. They have mint chocolate chip water ice. It's the best thing I ever had. And I think it was there with Denise, and I was like, oh my God, we have to show this to my mom. And then we went all the time, me and my mom. And now I go with my dad. If I would go somewhere like Nashville, or like I found a Northampton butterfly park, and I would tell people, I'd be like, oh, I can't wait to show this to my mom. It feels, the loss of my mother is no less than a tragedy. As my mom say, it's a damn shame. At first, I lamented that she was taken far too soon, and that I only got to spend 8 years back in her neck of the woods after leaving the nest and traveling the country in pursuit of a career in medicine. I was starting to have a lot of regret. But then I think about how lucky I am that she was my mom to begin with and that she was in my life. How lucky I am that I even landed a job so close to home to begin with, so that I could spend what turned out to be the last year she had with her. I'm lucky that I'm a bit extra about taking photos. People who know me know this, but now I have so many photos that are great of my mom. Lucky that my sister and my mom and I love taking photos, so I have so many. I'm so grateful for Liv's bat mitzvah, that the whole family got together, that we got to dance together. It was a great night. There are so many truly incredible moments throughout the years that we shared because she was the kind of person that made life great. I think there's one. Oh yeah, that's the bat mitzvah. So I try to focus on being blessed by my mother's presence for as long as I had it, but I miss her all the same. And there's a quote I like, a bird may fly away, but we still remember its song. So I'm going to try and be more like my mom and treasure our similarities. And another quote that was on a card someone sent to us, here's to a life well lived that touched so many. And your presence here shows me that she touched your life, and I thank you for coming to celebrate with us. So thank you so much for your attention. I think, and now Eileen, her coworker and friend.
Shark. Hi, I'm Eileen, and Terry and I worked together for more than 25 years at ETS. And most of that time was spent being external representatives of the TOEFL program at ETS. So 25 years of travel means a lot of travel, a lot of exhaustion, but a lot of laughter, and a fair amount of tears as we shared our personal and our professional lives together. It also meant a lot of love grew between us. There's so many stories from the 25 years of being with Terry, with my funny, silly, whimsical friend. But today I'll just tell you about two. And I promise you, they are true. Once we were in Florida, in Orlando, for a conference. We arrived in the evening, hot and sticky in the Orlando heat and humidity. and we just felt really rumpled. While checking in, Terry asked the hotel clerk if the hotel had a pool. Why, yes, the clerk said. Yes, we do. But the rather pubescent young man, the clerk, said, but it's closed for the evening. So Terry tried her best to convince that young man by various ways to open that pool for us. But it was unavailing. Finally, Terry made one last-ditch attempt. And she leaned over the counter, and she starts batting her eyes. And she says in this very suggestive, sexy voice, if you open the pool, we'll let you come with us. and my head snapped around as, what? What did she just say? So this very young man was blushing furiously. He was mortified. And fortunately, he declined the offer, much to my relief. So we got into our rooms, and we each started unpacking. And back in the day, I always traveled with my favorite tea. You know, tea is a friend of Terry and a friend of mine, too. My favorite tea, my favorite teacup, and a water boiler. So you know I'm talking about back in the day, right? If we're talking water boilers. So to my dismay, I realized that I had forgotten to pack my water boiler. So, no tea for me. Well, absolutely unfazed. You know how Jen mentioned about Terry lived life, you know, with her arms up in the air, right? So, absolutely unfazed, Terry says, road trip! And it was close to midnight at the time. And so we learned there was a Walmart not too far away, so that had late hours, but was going to close pretty soon. So, carried away by Terry's enthusiasm, we roared off in our white rental car. I don't know why they were always white, but rental cars are always white. And so we, in my own enthusiasm, I will confess that I jumped a median in order to get there, you know, because it was important. And we must have looked like idiots. We were laughing, and the radio was blasting, and we're yelling and pounding on the dashboard, just having a great old time. And we did get that water boiler. So, as Jeff mentioned, at one point our company introduced a big change to the test that we represented. And it was wildly unpopular. And so for more than a year, everywhere Terry and I went, people literally screamed at us. Okay, we understood why people were upset. This was especially the high school college counselors, whose students were young and couldn't travel to these new test centers we were using. So Terry, you know, with the compassion and the kindness that she always exhibited, she understood why they were complaining, and she always worked to find a workaround solution for them. But it was dreadful, you know, and it was demoralizing, and it was exhausting. But I'll tell you, Terry's humor, her effervescent humor, helped to leaven every bad situation. Now, funny things seemed to happen around Terry, even when she wasn't the one causing them, right? We were in Indianapolis for a big conference. And the people there were loaded for bear for us. So, I mean, we got it full on. And so in the evenings, we retired to the hotel. 2 sodden lumps of misery. And we didn't want to go out lest we meet someone who knew us at the time. So we had dinner 2 nights in a row at the not-so-great restaurant at the not-so-great hotel we were staying at. And I don't know why, but Terry and I almost invariably ordered the same meals. We didn't plan it, but we usually did. So that night, the first night, we ordered chicken with asparagus. The bored, exhausted waitress had a hard face and an irritated manner. So we ordered the chicken and asparagus. Finally, after waiting a long time for the food to come out, there was chicken, but no asparagus. And Terry said, "Where's the asparagus?" And the waitress said, "We didn't have any, so that's what you got," came the gracious reply. So foolishly, we ate at the same restaurant the second night. I'm like, what were we thinking? Did we think we'd get a different outcome? So Terry checked to make sure that they had asparagus. And the woman said, "Yeah, we had it." So we ordered it. After an even longer wait than the first night, the woman came back and said, this time, that they had asparagus, but no chicken. Was that all right? We were ravenous by this time, and we were exhausted, so we said, yes, whatever, right? So we had another long wait, and finally the waitress came with our 2 plates of food, and she tripped on the carpet right in front of us. And the dishes landed, and the food, they all landed right in front. And with no expression on her face, the waitress said, "I just threw it over the floor, all over the floor. Want something else?" And since that time, at odd intervals, at meetings, Terry would say in a random sort of way, "I just threw it all over the floor." And we would just break out laughing, even though it had nothing to do with the meeting we were in. And it was just, as Terry used to say, too funny. So, well, that dreadful conference finally and mercifully came to an end. And we dejectedly dragged ourselves out to a place where we could get lunch and a drink. We were with a counselor from a Catholic high school in Peru, one of the few people willing to be seen with us at the time. I ordered my trademark pina colada because I don't drink alcohol, but I love pina coladas. And then suddenly, it was as if a phoenix was rising from the ashes. Terry was no longer dejected. She had this mischievous look on her face, and she said she wanted a Bloody Mary. But she wanted not a virgin, she wanted the slut version. The one that had been around the block. Now, the Catholic counselor from Peru at our table gasped and was embarrassed, appalled, really, if we're honest. But Terry and I couldn't stop laughing about this. We kept laughing as if it were the funniest thing in the world. And it's that kind of laughter that brings tears to your eyes as the tension and the fatigue melted, began to drain away. Now, I know Terry would love this today, and I thank Jeff and Jen and Becky so much for having this. Many of you here, I know a lot about you from 25 years of hearing Terry talk about you, and how much she loved you, how much she loved her family. So, Terry, for all the love, the laughter, and the caring, I thank you for every moment, and only for you would I wear a Sharknado hat.
Okay. At this time, I would like to invite my Uncle Ken.
Uncle Ken has changed his mind.
No!
Brevity's the soul of wit, so here's what we're going to do in light of the hour. Everybody join me in a toast to Terry X. I love her and I miss the hell out of her. So, to Terry. We'll do it now.
Okay. And my dad got these Starbucks cups, as my mom loves Starbucks. There are a few more words that were sent to me to be shared from my mom's college roommate, but there's actually chocolate mousse in the bar room. So go get your chocolate mousse, come back, and then I'll ask if anybody else wants to speak and read some last words. What would Terry do? What's that? She would get the chocolate mousse. Yeah, heck yeah. That's why I got it. And read a message that my mom's friends from college wrote. So this is from David Frick and Susan Clemley. And it says, Dear Jeffrey, Jennifer, and Rebecca, and to all the family members and friends gathered today for the celebration of Terry's life. I haven't read this yet. We are sorry we can't be there with you, but we wanted to share some fond memories and lasting impressions of Terry that we have always carried with us. There were many get-togethers over the years while we lived in Philadelphia and after we moved to New York, and one of the constant soundtracks at every occasion was Terry's unmistakable, exuberant voice and the classic, almost percussive laugh that she had when she found something very funny and especially ironic. She had a great sense of humor and a keen eye for quirks and foibles in the world, in others and herself. Speaking of foibles, Terry was always gracious and patient when the four of us got together. In the early years after Muhlenberg, then when Jennifer and Rebecca arrived, as Jeff and David would typically go down the rabbit hole for hours, talking about music and albums, obscure artists, and deep dives into, for example, jazz violin. True. One of our fondest memories of Terry comes with photographs that we enjoy during our witch roll every New Year's Eve as we sit and look through the photo albums from our travels over the years. Our visit to Jeff, Terry, and a very young Jennifer in Nova Scotia when they were living there, was a wonderful introduction to that beautiful rural part of Canada and their life in that wide open space. A day trip to the lighthouse at Peggy's Cove included clambering along the rocks, passing Jennifer over large boulders, and Terry slipping on one of the rocks and grazing her elbow. Our favorite picture from that trip shows Terry with a big bright smile, showing off her thankfully minor injury like a badge of fun, part of a great day out with family and friends. And that's actually featured over at the Calvin and Hobbes table with the mementos. And there was the year when, after talking about it for ages, we managed to pull off a weekend together in New Orleans for Jazz Fest, where Jeff and David inevitably tried to run around between the stages, catching all the music, while Terry and Susan kept them in check, catching seats in the tents and under shade so we could enjoy all the sounds, crafts, and food at a more sensible pace. It was a fabulous weekend, and every year when we go back to Jazz Fest, we always point to the hotel where Terry and Jeff stayed as we walk around the French Quarter. The last couple of times we saw Terry was when we took weekend getaways back to Philly, staying in Center City. Jeff and Terry made the trip all the way from Langhorne to join us for dinner and, on the final occasion, met us in the lobby of our hotel for some continental breakfast and more conversation. All of it with Terry's smile, that unmistakable voice, and especially her laugh. We think of her, and we can hear it all right away. And Terry is still here for all of us because she enriches our lives as we go forward and carry her in our hearts. So that was Dave and Sue. Another friend from college, Norm, who was one of my dad's roommates, wrote, entitled it Terry's Wish, and wrote, "Some people make decisions early in their lives that define all that is to come. It always surprises me that we are able to know at a relatively young age what will make us happy throughout the remaining years. Jen, when you told me of your close relationship with your mother, I realized that your mother had lived her life exactly as she wished. Even in college, she was thinking more of having a family than having a career. Yes, she was certainly intellectually and socially capable of achieving a successful career, which she did indeed accomplish, but having children and a close family was more important. Terry's life was exactly as she had wished when she met Jeff. It could not have happened to a nicer, more deserving person. And then Bradley, cousin Bradley, wrote in, Terry was always so joyous and positive. Her lightheartedness always brought smiles and laughter to the dinner table. Her laugh was infectious, and she spoke with emphasis, inflection, and character. I can hear her voice right now, reading from the, this is gonna show, Haggadah, woo! At the Passover Seder, probably wearing one of my mom's silly masks to represent the plagues. She had no judgments and was just happy to be surrounded by family and friends. As we got older, some of us lose our childish excitement, but it was always easy to see the child still inside of her. Terry listened and was interested in what you had going on in your life. The holidays won't be the same without her. I have nothing but fond memories of her, and writing this right now brings me deep sorrow. She will be truly missed. All right, you sure you don't want to come up, Uncle Ken? Okay. Okay, well then, in that case, so the photographer is going to take a couple group photos from the particular groups, and if you want to write down a memory, or go to the videographer and share a memory, we would be grateful. I have this poster, if you're not sure what to share, favorite stories, thoughts about Terry you wish, ways in which her life touched or helped yours. I'm just saying there are prompts. All right, thank you very much.
All right, well, I'm Lee Kaplan, cousin to Jeff and Terry, and I want to say just a few words with an emphasis on the words, on the word few, okay? Came up here with my wife Nancy and my son Joe and daughter Kat. My sisters Lori and Martha, part of the Kaplan clan, are up here as well with their families to share in the celebration of Terry. If you have a cute and enthusiastic laugh that always gets other people to laugh along with you, this is an example of a time when you would be said to have an infectious laugh. This is my fondest memory of Terry. We spent many summers vacationing with the Axes, and whether it would be spirited stories on the beach or heated games of spoons in the evenings, we laughed. And Terry was usually in the middle of it. In fact, we just got back from a week at Outer Banks all together, and although Terry was not physically with us, her spirit and laugh was all around, alive and kicking. That's all.
Oh, and the videographer is going to set up in the other room if you want to share some memories privately, which we would love. Peer pressure.
Hi, I'm cousin Max from Baltimore, here on behalf of the Kaplan, Eber, and Moeller clans from Baltimore. We're Terry's cousins. I wanted to share memories of Terry, but felt needed to be a little more quiet. Terry, again and again, people brought up her laugh. Her laugh was always an indicator that, one, they had arrived at a family get-together or party. You were getting all set up, and then suddenly you hear this laugh, and that means they've arrived, and that was when the fun was actually, going to start. So that was always really lovely and really something to look forward to. And she was a consummate listener. Like, throughout childhood, she always approached all of us from Baltimore as so nicely, so kindly. She always joked about us all being tall and the good-looking cousins from Baltimore, and she was just always so funny about it, and it was always so complimentary, especially when, growing up, adolescence, she didn't feel so good. So it was always really wonderful to hear all these praise all the time. Like she'd see us and she just would always be so, oh my God. So it was always really lovely to see her and spend time with her, and she just, nonstop laughter and joy, and, we'll really, really miss her a lot. And we love you, Terry.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming, anybody who's watching this. For those who aren't fortunate enough to know me, I'm Ken, the other better brother. As I understand it, first there was Jeffrey, the starter brother, or number one son, as my father used to say. And then there was Judith on the second try, and by the time they got to me, they reached the penultimate production model, and that was it. I'm trying to think of what Terry would say here today, and I think it would be something like, I suppose you're all wondering what I brought you here today. And then she would slap her knee and give out that incredible laugh, and we'd start laughing about it. I first met Terry about 50 years ago when she came home with my brother from college to visit. And as they say in the medical jargon, she presented as a lovely, young, naive, and smart woman, much like my true love, Anne. And so for the life of me, I couldn't figure out what she was doing with my brother. And after he took off, while she was still there for a little while, she couldn't figure it out either. So we bonded on a common critique of my brother. And now Terry wasn't perfect, she was human, like all of us. And she had her ups and downs, and her sorrows, her troubles, as did I. But we went through common experiences, and I think on that we really did bond, had kind of a special relationship. And she was, as has been said, really a sister to me. My parents greeted her warmly, and as my son used to say, we come from a long line of huggers, and she responded to that right away and got into the family. My brother got better, by the way, as they say in Monty Python. Who else now can enlighten me with those words like, yes, Ken, that sucks, really sucks. We used to walk on the Jersey Shore and we'd talk about shoes and ships and sealing wax and cabbages and kings and families. And I really miss that. Who else can I talk to now about those things? She always had good advice and was always helpful. We vacationed together and shared quarters for more than 40 years in Long Beach Island and Cape May and Virginia Beach and Corolla, North Carolina, and Punta Cana and Bradenton and Anna Maria Island and so many other places. And COVID is so cruel because we couldn't see her last year and it just didn't feel right to have a summer when we weren't together. One time when we were at Punta Cana, we had a lovely cruise on a catamaran and went to an island that was a national park and had fresh caught lobster there. And the next day, Jeff and Terry went out whale watching. So we asked them how it had been, and Terry said, well, it was a long bus ride. And then we went out, and the boat went up, and it went down, and it went up, and it went down. And then she blew out on those cheeks, and we all started to laugh about it as he told us more. Like other couples, Jeff and Terry had kind of a division of labor, and long ago he was in charge of finances. That was the last time. She was incredibly patient with him. And as I understand it, they went to a restaurant on vacation and sat down, and Jeff said, Terry, we're out of money. We don't have anything to pay. What do we do? And she said incisively, leave. So they did. That was, I think, the last time he ever had anything to do with that. Let's see, what else I want to tell you? She was a fiercely protective mother and always there for her girls. And when she was your friend, you knew it, and she would stand by you. She was an excellent speaker and very hardworking. She had the Protestant work ethic down to a T. One time when she was unhappy at ETS because she thought she couldn't get her job done right, and she had a very poor understanding boss who just didn't get it, she had to leave. And afterwards, she was replaced by 4 different people at the same time just to get the job done that she had been trying to do alone. She loved Jeff incredibly, and she also had incredible love for her girls. She was so proud of Jeff when he retired. dinner. And at our wedding, she sang to the tune of Davy Crockett, Kenneth Bryan went to the wild frontier. And to Judy, she sang to Peter Pan. Judith Wendy, she's getting married. She's really getting married. Okay. We have a break here for a moment. Terry, now look what you've done. You've gotten me to wear a suit again. I haven't done that since Liv's bat mitzvah. I thought I was through with that. And now I'm wearing the last one I think I have left, in your honor. I wouldn't do it for anybody else. And I miss you. I keep looking around for you to come through the door, especially when we were at the shore. Terry loved the shore, and she loved our parents' tradition of going there and did the same with us. And learned to come from Nova Scotia to drive all the way down at Christmas and at summer vacation, and we did the same for her. And she always knew that family came first. As we've told our kids, who else would have your back? I think we can end here, but I miss you, Terry. And I love you and always will. Bye.
Hey guys, it's Joe, part of the Kaplan clan, of course. Just wanted to send my best regards. Love being here. Dearly miss Terry, and just it was beautiful to hear all the words and memories of her today. I just wanted to say I have a few stories and memories of us spending time together down at the Ocean City, New Jersey. Look forward to every summer vacation, and just going to, there was a restaurant there, going to Tori's. It's like an old-fashioned type of restaurant. And we go there kind of after dinner for dessert. And I just remember us going to the jukebox, picking out some songs and songs that we could dance to and karaoke to, and just taking over the restaurant and just having so much fun. That's something that I definitely miss and always look forward to every summer. The other memory I have at the beach was spending time after dinner. The families are together at the dinner table. We had rousing games of spoon. So much fun, intense. Like you wanted to win, but Terry was right there, laughing, hooting, hollering, and she always made that a very fun occasion, something that I always look forward to every summer. And I just miss her because she's someone that if you were going through a rough patch or you're feeling down, she'd come over to you and talk to you and make you feel better and start to make you laugh. And laughter is something that I take with me in my life right now, and it's something that I learned a lot from her. And so I'm dearly miss her, and I just, you know, I know she's going to be with us, looking down on us. So those are my best memories, and thank you so much for being in my life. Thank you.
Oh, look at it go. Over here.
Becky.